When the heroine, with her pregnant belly, asked me to take her in, I realized I'd been reborn. I'm that lovesick side character in a novel who silently protects the heroine. In my past life, I saved her from danger countless times. Yet, she ran off with the main guy at the story's end, even setting my house on fire. This is what you get for hurting Justin. They reconciled, and I died miserably from unhealed burns. Living again, I saw the heroine, on the verge of tears, and directly dialed the main guy's number. Mind your woman. Tony, I really don't know what to do anymore. Can you help me? Shirley bit her lip, teary-eyed, looking heartbroken. Justin's been secretly meeting another woman. I can't be with him anymore. Tony, can you let me stay for a while? If I hadn't been reborn, I'd probably be comforting her, offering anything she needed. I would have said, as long as I'm here, you have nothing to worry about. But now, I just glanced at her, staring at her noticeably pregnant belly. She awkwardly covered it, realizing I'd noticed. Tony, I'm pregnant with his child. Does that bother you? She hesitated, making up her mind. If you accept this child as your own, I'll agree to stay with you. I didn't respond or plan to let her in. Instead, I nonchalantly asked, another fight with Justin? She was taken aback, clearly not expecting my calm demeanor. After a while, realizing I wasn't going to comfort her, she shook her head with a bitter smile. There's no point in fighting anymore. I've been with him for 2 years, and he's never acknowledged me publicly. He takes photos with Daisy, posts them on Twitter, and doesn't deny they're a couple. What does he think I am? I've completely given up on him. She looked at me, full of grievances. Tony, I was blind before choosing him. Would you give me a chance to come back to you? In my past life, if she had said this, I'd have been overjoyed. But the Tony who loved her unconditionally was already dead, tragically killed by her. I didn't answer her questions. Instead, I called Justin. Your woman with your kid is at my place needing shelter. Keep me out of your lover's squabbles. Get over here in half an hour to pick her up. Shirley's face turned white as a sheet. Had I not been reborn, I would have taken her in without hesitation. I've played the role many times before. From the day she entered my life, I was destined to clean up her messes, to be her safe harbor when hurt, a pawn to make Justin jealous. Our world is a cliched novel. I'm the second lead, silently devoted to the heroine. I'm meant to add a dramatic highlight to their love story and then fade away. I'm the stepping stone and witness to their romance, sacrificed to glorify them. Once the pawn's role is over, the couple reconciles, and everyone's merry. And me? I was punished for hurting the ultimate hero, getting fatally burned by the heroine herself. I died in unbearable agony. Perhaps, some soft-hearted god saw my resentment and gave me another chance. This time, I'm not playing anyone's second fiddle. On his way, Shirley continued explaining. She told me Justin went on a movie date with Daisy and took her to a friend's party. She's really done with him. She wants to move on and really be with me. Funny how she doesn't remember she said this countless times while being with Justin. I actually knew Shirley before Justin did. We attended the same university, and Shirley and her mom sold crepes at the university gate. One rainy day, I saw her, shivering under a small shade, so I gave her my umbrella and jacket out of pity. Her eyes sparkled with life then, filled with energy. She apologized with a smile and quickly made me a crepe. I never ate street food, but that day I made an exception, and it was surprisingly delicious. After that, I visited her stand often and even brought friends. She was different from all the girls I knew, wearing simple jeans and a tee, with a well-worn bare apron, hair tied back in a ponytail. Not conventionally pretty, but always radiating positivity despite hardships. I couldn't help but be drawn to her uniqueness. Her encounter with Justin was more dramatic. She accidentally got sauce all over Justin's expensive clothes, and then her food cart lost control, injuring his leg and destroying his pricey watch. She owed a debt she couldn't pay off in her lifetime. Justin, being the arrogant jerk he was, had her stand destroyed and banned her from the campus entrance. Shirley's mom got hurt in the clash and ended up in the hospital. Desperate for hospital bills, she turned to Justin. From a crepe seller, she became Justin's live-in maid to repay him, then his bed partner, later his hidden girlfriend. When I found out, I offered to pay her debt, but she refused. She said she must bear the consequences of her actions. Yet, she often quarreled with Justin over various things and would get kicked out of his villa. Every time she would come to me. As of today, I've taken her in over a dozen times. Every time I'd treat her to good food and drinks, while she was all caught up in her emotions, and I'd be the one comforting her, giving gifts and flowers, taking her out just to cheer her up. Each time, she'd say she'd forget about Justin and start fresh with me. But she never lasts more than a few days before going back to him. I used to feel sorry for her. Now it just seems ridiculous. So right now, even as she's crying like there's no tomorrow in front of me, I just keep an indifferent smile, treating it as some kind of joke. When she tries to grab my hand, I take a step back. Shirley, how many times have you and Justin fallen out? Isn't it always the same? You two kiss and make up soon enough. No point dragging me into it. Didn't you say you didn't want to see me and Justin fighting? Honestly, if you didn't come to me, Justin and I, friends for over 20 years, would be fine. Every time she came to me, Justin would start a fight, accusing me of trying to steal his girl. And every time I fought him, it was because he mistreated Shirley. And there she was, crying and pleading, "Please, stop fighting." She pauses her sobbing, looking at me in disbelief. "Tony, even you are tired of me." Huh? I know last time I didn't listen to you, but I had my reasons. Last time, Justin left Shirley stranded at the foot of a mountain while running off for his first love, Daisy. I drove 3 hours to get her. Next morning, Justin wanted her back to cook breakfast for Daisy, and she immediately asked me for a lift back. I tried to stop her. "He left you alone out there. Doesn't care about your safety. Now he wants you to cook for his ex? Seriously? Why go back to him, Shirley? Don't." She didn't take my advice and said if I wasn't willing to drive her, she'd take the bus with $2. So, after a sleepless night taking care of her, I ended up driving her back to Justin's. Before she could say more, Justin arrived. I cut Shirley off and told Justin, "You're not kids anymore. Isn't this runaway game getting old? Plus, you know I used to like Shirley. She keeps coming to me, saying things that make it hard not to read into them." I emphasized the word "used to." Shirley's face went pale. She wanted to speak but chose to explain to Justin first. "Justin, it's not like that. I interrupted, "So aren't you two fine? Why keep confessing to me and asking for shelter? Is this some part of your game? Am I just a piece in your play?" Justin was already fuming. He yanked Shirley behind him, glaring at me. "I warned you, she's my woman." I shrugged, unfazed. "I know, which is why I called you to handle your woman. In past times like this, I'd warn Justin to treat Shirley right or else." Looking back, I was naive. She used my feelings for her to ignite Justin's possessiveness, so she could get back with him. Sure, I was wrong for having feelings, but wasn't she wrong for coming to me knowing I liked her? Justin glanced between me and crying Shirley at the door, realizing I hadn't let her in. He awkwardly pats my shoulder. "Sorry for the trouble. Promise it's the last time." I shrugged again, "Better be." Justin nodded, pulling Shirley along. I explained, "Daisy and I just bumped into each other. Did you really need to run away? You know how Tony feels about you. Why come to him?" Shirley sobbed like there was no tomorrow. "Just bumped into each other? 5 times in a week? Coffee, movies, parties, am I stupid? You think I'm low class, looking for someone better?" I interrupted, "Hey, you guys mind taking this outside? I've got company, don't want to waste our time." Shirley paused, shocked at me. She probably never thought I could like anyone else. Since knowing her, I'd been the loyal sidekick, loyal and devoted. Now, thinking back, how could I have been so misguided? What magic did she have over me? Once they left, I rubbed my temples. Dealing with them distracted me from processing my newfound memories. Now, calming down, piecing together my past feels absurdly dreamlike. Supporting roles? I'm Tony, I only play the lead. Justin and I have known each other forever. Our group was full of other rich kids. From preschool to high school, we went to these elite schools, and we got dubbed the real-life heirs online because of our backgrounds. Then came Shirley, out of nowhere, a breath of fresh air in our glittering world, gentle yet hard to ignore. Not exaggerating, virtually all our friends were smitten with her. Yet because of Justin's family influence, they weren't as bold as me to openly compete with him. I always thought I was no less than Justin. He won Shirley 'cause he's the lead in the story. I lost only Shirley to him. This life, I'm over her. But for everything else, let's see how he intends to win. We just graduated, yet to inherit our empires. I'm learning the ropes at my dad's company to take over one day. With my past experience, I'm more efficient, already snagged a few deals, of which 2 were meant for Felix. After several collaborations, people at the company started looking at me differently. Everyone was congratulating my dad, saying he had a capable heir. My parents were thrilled too. They planned to guide me for 2 more years, and once I could handle things on my own, they'd go travel abroad. Seeing their warm smiles made my eyes sting a bit. In my past life, my world revolved around Shirley. I skipped out on the office often, just to be by her side, leaving my parents disappointed. Once, Shirley left Justin because he got engaged to his first love, and she said she wanted to marry me. Of course, I agreed. My parents were strongly opposed, but I left home for Shirley. We moved to another city to start over. My dad got so upset he fell ill. I wanted to visit him, but Shirley begged me not to. Tony, she said, you know I've been hurt before. I'm scared. I need to know I'm the only one in your heart. Please don't leave me alone here. I'm terrified, just like Justin left me for someone else. Tony, just this once, indulge me and stay. But my dad wasn't just anyone. I promised her I'd never abandon her. I even hired several caretakers for her before returning home, but it was too late. My dad had passed. I didn't get to see him one last time. After the funeral, my mom seemed to have aged 10 years. She looked at me with disappointment and asked if Shirley was really worth losing family and the company over. While I was having doubts, Shirley showed up. She knelt beside me, pleading with my mom for forgiveness and acceptance. If you love your son, you should wish him happiness, not stand in its way, she said. My mom was so angry she was shaking. She pointed at Shirley. Do you really think you can make my son happy? You think I don't know about your scandals? I'd never let him marry someone else's mistress, unless I'm dead. Shirley cried, admitting she had been with Justin but claimed it was over. But my mom summoned the butler, who showed photos of Shirley and Justin at a hotel together. My son barely left, and you ran to be with him again. Is this your idea of cutting ties? Shirley bit her lip, full of humiliation, and said, Justin forced me. What could a weak woman like me do? If Tony were with me, I'd never have gone to the hotel with Justin. Marry me, Tony, and I swear I'll end things with him for good. I lost my mind and believed her lies. My mom fainted and was bedridden after that. Tony? Tony! My dad's voice snapped me back to the present. I nodded in response. Sorry, Dad. I zoned out for a second. He waved it off. You're like me when I was young, working non-stop. But you're still young, and our company is doing great. Even if you did nothing, you'd still be set for life. No need to overdo it. Oh, Felix's got this fancy fireworks party on the sea. Didn't he invite you? Go relax and have fun. This sea fireworks thing was why Shirley wanted to marry me. It was a big break for her back then. Without me, she could have been in a real bad spot, life-threatening, even. Thinking about that past danger, I smiled. Dad, I'll skip the party. I relax differently and don't feel like hanging out. But since you're giving me a break, I'd like to take a longer one and visit Italy. My dad agreed without further questions. In Italy, I got a call from my first crush, Lucy. Pausing the conversation with the young guy opposite me, I answered. Lucy said Shirley had an accident and asked if I wanted to see her. Everyone knew I loved Shirley, so it made sense they called me right away. Lucy was surprised I wasn't rushing back, sensing my change. She playfully teased me, but was clearly happy. That's your untouchable first love, the one that got away. She's in a vulnerable place now. If you swoop in, you might win her over. She joked. I laughed. Lucy, seriously, stop with the chaos. She's Justin's girl, and they're expecting a baby. Justin's not even there for her. Why would I meddle and make things worse between us? Though 3 months younger, she was fiery and tough. She often bullied me, making me call her big sis. It became a habit. Lucy sounded relieved. So you're really not coming back? I replied, I'm busy here with important stuff. Be good and stay out of their drama. I'll bring you a gift when I return. She giggled, I don't care about their mess. It's a deal then. Flake out and I'll pound you. Got it, madam. Now, would you please hang up? She made a noise, then ended the call. Shaking my head, I pocketed my phone and told the young guy, let's continue. Around this time, Justin's first love, Daisy, was giving Shirley a hard time. To be specific, Daisy bullied Shirley outright. Justin always took Daisy's side, which left Shirley heartbroken repeatedly. At the fireworks party, Daisy pushed Shirley into the sea and jumped in after her. Justin saved Daisy, leaving Shirley, 7 months pregnant, to struggle alone in the water. Since Daisy claimed that Shirley pushed her, Justin decided to stick up for Daisy. He ordered everyone not to save Shirley. As he watched Shirley calling for help in the sea, he seemed totally unbothered. Acting all helpless? You know how to swim, don't you? If you're mean enough to shove Daisy into the ocean, swim yourself back to shore. With that, he ordered the yacht to leave the area. What he didn't know was that Shirley was pregnant and prone to cramps. She hadn't swum far before her leg cramped, and she slowly sank into the depths of the sea. In my last life, I jumped into the ocean to save Shirley. I was utterly exhausted by the time I dragged her to a rocky area to wait for rescue. In the chill of the night, soaked through, I held her close, using my body to shield her from the cold wind. Back then, it was Lucy who sailed over with her yacht to save us. I still remember her expression was colder than the night breeze. Tony, you are such a fool. The grandest fool of all. Her temper was notoriously bad, and given her violent streak, I didn't dare to provoke her too much, so I just nodded. Yeah, you're right about everything. So, Lucy, can we please get to shore? She's pregnant and shaken up. I'm worried she's in danger. Lucy didn't argue anymore and silently steered the yacht to the shore. In the end, Shirley lost the baby. She was heartbroken and attempted to harm herself several times, but I stayed by her side without leaving once. Meanwhile, Justin went off to Italy with a shaken Daisy to relax. There, he just happened to bump into a genius software designer. That designer later became their company's key player, winning them numerous awards. In this life, I got to know the designer ahead of time. Today, he signed a contract with me, and from now on, he's my guy, Tony's guy. This time, it was Felix who saved Shirley. He's like the third male lead of this world, doesn't have as many scenes as me, and ends up with a similarly tragic fate. He wasn't as lucky as I was to have Lucy come to the rescue. He saved Shirley but wasn't rescued himself until the next day by a rescue team. He was nearly done for, spent over half a month recovering in the hospital, and ended up with some permanent injuries. Because of this incident, Felix's family ended up at odds with Justin's family. When I returned with the designer, Shirley, having had a miscarriage, was already staying at Felix's place. Once again, feeling hopeless and heartbroken, she agreed to be with Felix, just like she agreed to marry me in the previous life. Felix, much like the old me, thought he'd finally won the girl of his dreams, like he owned the world. Unbeknownst to him, taking care of the heartbroken heroine, providing her with a good life, is just part of the sidekick's role. We're meant to give without ever truly having. Little does he know that getting too close to the heroine usually brings misfortune. 2 months into being with Shirley, Felix's parents were so furious they ended up in the hospital. Felix's father was so mad he wanted to sever ties with everyone. Felix was repeating my past steps. As a friend, I warned him a few times. Yet he was as stubborn as I was back then, ignoring everyone's advice, cutting ties with his family, and starting a life alone with Shirley. Unlike me, who could sustain myself after cutting ties, even providing a well-off life for Shirley, Felix was like a spoiled rich kid, useless. He soon started borrowing money from his friends. I checked the time, and it's almost time for the protagonist couple's reconciliation dinner again. Last time, their reconciliation almost made me, the devoted second male lead, give up. This time, I wanted Felix to see Shirley's true colors, so I specially invited him, noting he could bring a date. At the last dinner, I took Shirley along. Her outfit cost over $50 million. Justin was quite taken with Shirley, who was all decked out and finely made up. He was mad that the Shirley who left him was doing better and even angrier that she was with me, yet he couldn't help but feel drawn to her again. When elders called me over for a chat, Shirley accidentally stumbled into the men's restroom, where Justin cornered her. After a forced encounter, Justin cajoled and coerced her into forgiving him. She left with him to his villa that very day. When I asked why, crying, she said sorry and that she couldn't let go of Justin and hoped I'd understand. But I really couldn't understand. She had agreed to marry me. I'd prepared everything. Yet, she wanted to return to someone who had nearly killed her. I was heartbroken for a long time. Lucy was so angry she gave me a good scolding. And a beating too. This time, my date is Lucy. Wearing the jewelry I gave her. With her natural beauty and dressing sense, she was dazzling and looked like she might outshine everyone tonight. She gave me a proud look. See that? This is what you call class. Isn't it way better than your Shirley? She never liked Shirley, always thinking she was both manipulative and sanctimonious. I used to not like it when she talked about Shirley that way, reminding her not to say such things. But now I see how spot on her judgment was. Shirley may have loved Justin, but she still strung along the rest of us side characters. Women sure understand women well. When Shirley arrived with Felix, her eyes kept darting towards me. Seeing me chat happily with Lucy, she looked quite hurt, shooting over pitiful glances now and then. Lucy was rolling her eyes, grumbling, typical case of having your cake and eating it too. A typical two-timer. Looking at her angry, sparkly eyes, I couldn't help but feel she was lively and cute. You've got great eyes, Lucy. Here, have some juice to calm down. The story's destined plot won't change. As expected, not long into the dinner, Shirley vanished. Felix, worried she might get hurt, frantically searched for her, but due to plot constraints, couldn't find her right away. I helped him out of kindness. Seems like she headed to the restroom area. I'll go with you to look for her. Lucy loves to join in on everything. I'm coming too. When the three of us, along with some waitstaff, got over there, we found a maintenance sign outside the men's restroom. Inside, we could hear some restrained moaning and Justin's vulgar insults loud and clear. Who are you dressing so provocatively for? Huh? That desperate? What's wrong? Felix not satisfying you these days. Shirley, sounding like she was about to cry, said, You're talking nonsense. I'm not like that. Unlike you. Never been touched before? Well, you're quite the obedient one then. Remember, I'm your first and only guy. Besides me, don't let any other man touch you. Shirley, slightly angry, replied, Who gives you the right to control me? What position do you have now to do so? Justin yelled, Just because I'm your man. It seemed they were arguing, but it was more like flirtatious banter. Felix's worried look turned to one of hurt. As a fellow supporting character with a tragic end, I kindly reminded him, You should see it clearly now. No matter how well we treat Shirley, she only loves Justin. Felix asked me a question I'd wanted to ask in my past life. But Justin almost killed her, and he's engaged to Daisy. So why does she keep going back to him? I used a phrase from the storyline. Maybe this is just true love. Nothing can stand in the way of the love between the main characters. It's just unfortunate that even the main characters don't realize that without the help of supporting characters, they'd never make it to the end. In fact, with someone like Daisy as the vicious supporting female, the heroine might not even survive till the end. This world is just one of those cliched chase the wife to the ends of the earth novella stories. The first part is about tormenting Shirley, and the ending is about tormenting Justin. After Shirley and Justin reconciled again, I stopped paying attention to them and focused all my energy on my career. With the addition of a talented designer to the company, and my knowledge from my past life, I intercepted many opportunities that belonged to the male lead. My family's business thrived, taking the lead among domestic companies, and we successfully expanded overseas. I earned recognition from the stubborn old folks at the company, and my dad was ready to step down at the end of the year banquet. While I, the supporting male, exited the stage of the main couple's love story to focus on my work, the main characters carried on with their tumultuous triangle. During that time, Shirley reached out to me more than once, seeking comfort and help, but I blocked all her contact info. She went to my place only to find that I had moved. When she came to the company to find me, she couldn't get to me. Unable to find me, she turned to Felix. But Felix, despondent over that restroom reconciliation, took to drinking and eventually chose to go abroad to heal. He's now getting married to a new girlfriend. Shirley was left dumbfounded. I heard she wasn't doing well, working as a waitress and a club hostess. She has a pretty face and the heroine's charm, always attracting men and earning the disdain of women, leading to a lot of troubles for her. She kept breaking up and getting back together with Justin, switching between the mansion and the rented place, sometimes being pampered, other times serving others. I saw her again nearly a year later, just before Christmas. I had just returned from an overseas trip for the company and was about to enter when she rushed up to me. "Tony, please help me. I'm really at my wit's end." If it weren't for that familiar opening line, I would have almost recognized the woman in front of me, so gaunt and wearing a hospital gown as Shirley. In my memory, she never looked so disheveled and miserable. But thinking about it, it made sense. Every time she got kicked out, I was the one who took her in, arranging for her living needs to be cared for by someone else. Now without me, and without Felix, even those who liked her wouldn't dare take her in, afraid of becoming Justin's target. Depend solely on herself, her life wasn't that comfortable. At this point, she had just been tricked by a feigning illness from Daisy, had a kidney forcibly taken by Justin, and had a miscarriage again. Her mother also died after being informed by Daisy about her supposed mistress activities, sending her into a state of shock. With 3 heavy blows, Shirley fell apart. She escaped from the hospital, wanting to get away from Justin. In my past life, I was the one who picked her up from the hospital, set her up in a suburban villa, hired a housekeeper, a private doctor, and took care of her everyday life and health. Took 6 months to nurse her back to health. Then one outing led her to meet Justin, who was experiencing marital dissatisfaction, and she, yet again, reunited with him and willingly fell back into being his mistress. "Tony, I only have you now." Shirley cried pitifully. "He doesn't trust me. I've been with him for almost 5 years, and yet, for one lie from Daisy, he took my kidney. Daisy killed my mom and he says it wasn't on purpose, telling me to stop making a fuss. How could he do this to me? I regret it, I should never have been with him. Tony, I realize now, you were the only one who truly cared for me. I'll never leave you again," she said, trying to move into my embrace. I took 2 steps back, avoiding her. She stumbled a bit and looked at me with such pain, tears overflowing. "Tony, please don't do this, okay? Don't treat me like this. I'll go crazy." I sighed. "You don't look well. Let me get Justin for you." "No," she suddenly screamed. "Don't you dare contact him. I hate him. I never want to see him again. Take me with you, Tony. Haven't you always liked me? Take me away. I'll be yours. I can marry you." I shook my head firmly. "Shirley, we're just friends. As a friend, I can only help you contact your boyfriend or call an ambulance." She shook her head repeatedly, reaching out to touch me. I dodged her again. "No, it's not like that, Tony. Please don't abandon me. Take me home. Okay? I'm begging you." Seeing her cry used to break my heart, but now her tears leave me unfazed, even a little disgusted. After all, I won't sympathize with someone who'd kill me. So I had security call 911 for her while I walked into the company. She tried to follow, but got blocked by security. I heard her hysterical cries. Why? Why are you doing this to me too? Why? Well, because those who do good by her never end up well. The past me, Felix, who wasn't good to her. But what was our ending? Felix died from severe injuries trying to save her. That was around this time at just 25 years old. I gave her countless safe havens, but she burned down my home and caused my death. I was 30 then. If I were a bad person, I'd seek revenge and make her taste the pain I did. But since I see myself as a good person, I just stopped caring for her. How can she blame me? She knew I had feelings for her but still enjoyed the perks I offered while reminding me we were just friends. She'd say she would feel uncomfortable if I treated her beyond that. So I stepped back to the friend zone. But then she wanted me to shower her with the love and care of a lover. You can't have it both ways. That goes for the main girl too. I heard from Lucy that she saw Shirley working as a waitress at a 5-star hotel when she was dining with friends. Talking about it, Lucy kept an eye on my reactions. When she saw I didn't care, she continued. Shirley even spilled a bowl of soup all over me. She lifted the split of her dress, showing off her long, fair legs and the red marks on her thigh. If I hadn't thrown a piece of clothing over my legs and reacted quickly, the skin would have peeled. I'm telling you, I think she did it on purpose. She has something against me. Why do you think that is? I totally knew her little thoughts, but I played along and asked, why? She gave me a mischievous look, a hint of poutiness in her eyes. It's all because of you. Photos of us hanging out got picked up by the media, and now people are guessing about us. You know, like maybe us getting engaged or something. I played dumb. What? She took a breath, like she was summoning courage. They're saying we're getting married. Not my words, just what everyone else is saying. Shirley broke up with Justin, so she's eyeing you as a backup plan. She's pissed at me and did it on purpose. Humph. I straight up told her off and slapped her. That's it. Her getting fired had nothing to do with me. I had a little surprise, but then let it go. If she can't do her job, getting let go makes sense. So yeah, nothing to do with you, but you should stay away from her. No interaction, preferably. Lucy isn't a main character, but she saved Shirley's life twice. Still, her ending wasn't great either. All because she found Shirley after I died and slapped her. He protected you for 10 years, Shirley. How could you do him like that? Because of that slap, Justin crushed her family's company to bankruptcy. Her parents couldn't take it and soon passed away. After taking care of everything alone, she brought me a final offering and burned a lot of paper money. Tony, keep this money safe. When I join you, I'll want it back. Tony, this world's a joke, so pointless. That day, at her parents' grave, Lucy took her own life. Lucy clearly misunderstood me, puffing her cheeks in frustration. You're still worried about her? What a clueless idiot. Can't you see she's just a total two-timer? She's stringing you along, moron. Stomping her foot, she turned to leave. I know you don't want to hear this, so I don't care about you and your lovesick mind. Goodbye. I quickly got up and grabbed her hand, lightly knocking on her forehead. I'm concerned about you, okay? Don't you see I haven't contacted her in 2 years? Don't you know what I do when I'm not working? I'm dining, shopping, watching movies with you. Sometimes even taking trips. Her anger passed as fast as it came. Oh, not like I insist you stay with me. Yeah, it's voluntary. I just want to be with you. This was genuine. Without the filter for the main girl, being with my first crush seemed more fun and comfortable. Growing up together, staying by each other's side, growing old together, isn't that nice? Her face reddened, murmuring, why? I thought for a moment, honestly answering her. You're beautiful and there are plenty of guys who like you. If I don't keep an eye, someone might snatch you away. I just want to be close to you and get the upper hand. The rumors? I allowed those to circulate to fend off those guys eyeing you. I brought her closer, just sharing how I feel. No pressure. You once mentioned not getting married till 30. So till then, you're free. Just if you want to date, perhaps try with me first? Reasonable request, right? That day she was stunned for a good while, then suddenly cried. Surprised and lost, she pulled at my collar and bit my lip. She marked me, saying, you're mine now. In 3 days, come to my house and propose, or I'll beat you up. She waved a fist, then ran off. Sure, that's doable. 3 days is enough to prepare. The proposal was 3 days later, the wedding planned 5 months after. The day Lucy and I got engaged was the day Shirley and Justin got back together. They even came to our engagement party. Justin, already married to Daisy, brought Shirley. In this circle, people found such behavior distasteful. Justin and Shirley were oblivious. lost in their little world of romance. What shocked me was Shirley's attempt to keep me as a backup, even after reconciling with Justin. Waiting by the dressing room as Lucy changed, Shirley approached, her eyes red with tears. "Tony, you need to know, marrying someone you don't love won't make you happy. Don't make a wrong decision out of impulse. Sometimes love means letting go. An anonymous guard is also a selfless way of loving." I was left in disbelief. If I got it right, is she hinting that she wants me to be her friend for life? "Shirley, I'm not like you. When I like someone, I want to marry them and make them my partner for real." She probably thought I was talking about her and looked at me like she was torn, almost in tears. "Tony, are you pushing me to make a choice or something?" I quickly cut her off. "Shirley, I was young and dumb back then. I did have a crush on you once, but that's old news. Don't say stuff that can be taken the wrong way. I love Lucy, I want to marry her. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just that simple. Please leave, let's not have Justin get the wrong idea. You guys just got back together, remember?" She looked at me all teary-eyed and said, "We're friends. I really hope you'll think this through and not do something you'll regret." I couldn't help but interrupt. "You better get going. Lucy's temper isn't great. She might come out and slap you." She hesitated for a bit, then walked away, turning back every few steps. Only I know that Shirley getting back with Justin spells major trouble for her this time. This crisis is like the setup for a chasing wife kind of drama, and it's the climax of this novel. After this, Shirley is going to flip the tables completely, and next up, Justin's the one who's going to get crushed. Who really gets wrecked though? That's me. But only if she makes it through okay. Last time, I almost lost my life helping her. Now, alone with no one to rely on, how will Shirley handle this crisis? I took Lucy to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. That's one of her big dreams. I recently found out she'd been holding off on all these dreams she could have done by herself, just waiting for me to join her. The whole not getting married by 30 thing was just about waiting for me to get over Shirley. Sadly, last time by the time I turned 30, I was dead inside. And actually dead. She never got the chance to see the lights with anyone by her side. I'm glad, though. Glad I just couldn't see her in my last life. Didn't do anything that hurt her like some cheesy novel plot. And glad she's always been carefree. Even if love didn't always go great, she lived her life to the fullest. The day Shirley got kidnapped, I turned off my phone when I stepped out and shoved it into my coat pocket. When I looked up, there was Lucy on the opposite side of the street, spinning around with her camera pointed at me. "Make a peace sign. I'll take your pic." I did it with a goofy smile. She laughed at how silly I was while saving the picture. Running down Rainbow Street with her was like finding peace I'd never felt before. Each step was like a journey through past and present. In some abandoned warehouse, I'd shielded Shirley from the brutal beatings from the kidnappers. But on Rainbow Street, Lucy dragged me into a little shop and plopped a silly hat on my head, covering my cold, red ears. In a cramped box, I'd cradled a nearly lifeless Shirley, bleeding my wrist to feed her the blood she needed to stay alive. But on Rainbow Street, Lucy stood in front of me with a grin and stuffed local snacks into my mouth. In the past, facing death, Shirley promised me, "If we make it out, I'll marry you. I want to be your wife and stay by your side forever." In this life, living as usual, Lucy told me, "Our life will be colorful like the street." Oh right, you don't like colors, you only like black, white, and gray. But it's fine, colorful and monochrome both look good together. In my past life, Shirley's promise had me in tears. In this one, holding Lucy with a smile, I said, "I don't just like black, white, and gray." She playfully led me behind an orange wall, lifted herself on tiptoes, and kissed me, erasing all echoes of that past life. That wall, the same color as the sun, shut out all those shadows from before. In that moment, I felt it clearly. I was truly reborn. As just Tony, not some side character named Tony. By the time Lucy and I were back home, the whole kidnapping Daisy setup was over. Justin played it safe and picked Daisy. Without me there to save her, under Daisy's orders, the kidnappers had tortured Shirley badly. Barely alive, they tossed her into an abandoned crate, set fire to it just like they did in my past life. She was rescued by a passerby right before death but ended up with severe burns, just like me back then. She's been in the ICU for 2 weeks. She has to figure out just how painful those burns are on her own. The arson case caught the police's attention, and the kidnappers got arrested quick, ratting out Daisy. For reasons I'll never get, Daisy threw Justin under the bus too. Both she and the kidnappers insisted they were doing Justin's dirty work, getting rid of an annoying fling. And the fact that Shirley was Justin's fling is one quick search away. Justin of course denied everything, but the police easily took the kidnappers' recorded clips. In those clips, Justin's talking to the kidnappers like it's just orders, plain and simple. Something like this only the author of this story could twist into Justin's really thinking about Shirley. I mean, after saving Daisy, he literally advised the kidnappers, "But I warn you, you better clean this up nice." These lines put Justin straight in the frame as the mastermind. No redemption story here. So before the win-back the wife drama even kicked off, the male lead and female psychic found themselves in jail. Shirley's survival might lessen their sentence. But if she doesn't make it, they're looking at life. Shirley asked to see me. I said no 3 times. I figured, what's the point? Then she had a nurse send me a message. The 2 years at the French manor were my happiest times. But in this life, I've never taken her to any French manor. And at that moment I knew. She was reborn too. I pondered briefly, then decided to see her at the hospital. Shirley lay on the bed, swathed in gauze everywhere. Only her eyes and lips were visible, sticking out past the bandages, just like mine from before. Her eyes had this fierce glare, tears welling up, but she didn't dare cry. Crying would just be agony for her, a whole kind of torture. Her voice was raspy, like she really had lived through 2 lives. "Tony, why didn't you come to save me this time? You were supposed to save me, weren't you? Did you find out? Is it 'cause you found out I burned you alive in our last life?" Looking at her now, I didn't feel sad or happy. Last time, when I was suffering so much, she never even came to see me once. "Yeah, I found out. If I save you, I'll die, my fiancé will die, my in-laws will die, and those 6 Filipino helpers who've been looking after you for 2 years will die. As long as I leave you be, we can all live well. Why should I save you?" She took a couple of heavy breaths, creating a nasty noise in her chest, like an old bellows. She screamed, "Can you blame me? You were the one who went for Justin first. You messed him up so bad. Shouldn't I get revenge for him? You knew I loved him, yet you hurt him like that. Didn't you think about my feelings?" I let out a mocking laugh. "Shirley, did you forget? Do you remember why I hurt Justin?" She hadn't forgotten. She just didn't want to admit she was wrong. She loved me, so she should have understood my true intentions. I shook my head slowly. "I don't know. In the past life, Shirley was kidnapped, and the kidnappers called me to bring 50 million. Without hesitation, I went. The kidnappers took the money but didn't let us go. They were scared we'd go to the cops, so they planned to kill us. During that time, they tried to harm Shirley, and I fought till I was beaten unconscious. Only then did they succeed. When I woke up, I found myself and Shirley, all mashed up like a rag doll, locked in a container. Inside that scorching sealed container in the heat of summer, we were trapped. I thought we were gonna die, so I gave all my survival chances to Shirley. I fed her my blood. My throat was so dry it felt like it'd crack, but I kept calling her name to keep her awake. Eventually, it was Lucy who found us. I was in a coma in the hospital for half a month, and I couldn't get out of bed for almost 2 months. During that time, Lucy hired a nurse to take care of me. As for Shirley, she was lost in her own sorrow and never checked on me. Yet I still loved her. I understood her pain and despair, so I never complained. When I recovered, she kept her promise and married me. She didn't want to stay in the country because of all the bad memories, so I took her to live in France. She told me she hated Justin and wanted him to pay, wanted him to experience losing everything. So, I crazily attacked Justin's company with no mercy. I fought dirty to win that business war. I told Justin about Shirley's years of resentment, the truth of the kidnapping, and what Shirley went through. When he was mentally messed up and distracted from his work, I crushed them. After learning the news, Shirley said she wanted to see Justin, see him when he was at his lowest. I took Justin to France. Though Shirley was my wife in name, she never let me touch her, claiming PTSD. During that time, though, she stuck to me, always holding my arm to show Justin. She looked down on him, speaking disdainfully, her voice shaking. I thought she was sad, but later found out she was more excited than anything. When I had nothing, how did you treat me? Now that you're all broke, why should I forgive you? Justin, you'll have to experience all the pain I went through. She then turned to me sweetly and said, I never want to see him again. He dirties my sight. Can you send him away for me, please? I, always doing everything for her, immediately had Justin forcibly taken away. I even made sure he'd be treated like Shirley was. Driven by Shirley's hatred, I thought I was just following her wishes. Who'd know, after finding out what I did to Justin, Shirley began hating me. Tony, didn't expect you to be this cruel. You destroyed his career, wrecked his family. Why humiliate him this way? I didn't think you were this kind of person. I'm so disappointed in you. Eagerly, she rushed to Justin, taking care of him, confessing feelings, expressing longing, and forgiving. Starting anew, she promised Justin, I'll avenge what he did to you. When Justin showed signs of recovery, she returned. I thought she'd come back to me. Before I got too happy, I found out she drugged our food. Before leaving, she set our house on fire. The 6 Filipino helpers who cared for her perished in that fire, and I got severely burned, leading to months of torment in the hospital, eventually dying miserably due to severe infection. Shirley, posing as my widow, inherited everything I owned and handed it all over to Justin. My company became his. They reconciled, avenged those who ever wronged Shirley, got married, had kids, and lived happily ever after. Even if I killed you before, that was in a past life. I haven't done anything in this life. Why let me die? Do you hate me that much? Hate me enough to wish me dead? I sighed and shook my head. Shirley, I don't hate you. It's the story setup I hate. Now that you've woken up, you should remember, I acted that way because I'm the male counterpart to the female lead. The one who fell for the female lead Shirley was the sidekick Tony. The real Tony could never love you. Understand? This lifetime I don't like you, so naturally I don't hate you. I'm just following my heart and not caring about someone irrelevant. I turned to leave as she yelled in agony in the hospital room. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Why did it turn out this way? I don't want this. Then came the news that Shirley passed away. I remained indifferent. Her death didn't stir any emotion in me. After Shirley died, Justin and Daisy received life sentences. Because of the scandal, Felix's reputation took a hit, and within a couple of years, other companies devoured it. I followed my heart and married Lucy. 2 years later, we had a lovely daughter, named Tina. My folks were over the moon, turning into the ultimate grandparents, bragging to anyone about their granddaughter. The world kept turning as usual. Nothing went haywire just 'cause it lost its leading lady and man. The difference was that those who were meant to be collateral in the love saga became the stars of their own. Everyone lived, whether ordinary or extraordinary, their own lives.